who are you to pontificate? Who are you to tell the world what the world should do? Who are you who are so culturally arrogant to tell the world what the world should do and must not do?
Sasa katika vile visingizio vya kuepuka na aibu ya kushindwa kwenye uchaguzi, wanaweka visingizio. Visingizio vyote hivi vinaungwa mkono na nje. Hawana hata aibu. Nje huko wanakaa, Tanzania ifanye 1, ifanye 2, ifanye 3, halafu ndiyo itakuwa hivyo. Who are you? Niwaulize ndugu zangu, niwaulize, kwao hayatokei? Kwao hayatokei? Tumenyanyua sauti sisi kusema ya kwao.
Whenever I hear that the West is speaking about values, I always wonder which values? These people who ran slavery, these people who ran colonization, these people who are running a neo-colonial project, these people provide succor to thieves. The stolen money in Africa, in Latin America, in Eastern Europe is kept in the West. So when they talk about values, we must look at them and say, who are you to pontificate? Who are you to tell the world what the world should do? Who are you who are so culturally arrogant to tell the world what the world should do and must not do? So they can talk about their values all they want, but we know that mega corruption is alive and well. And when we remove that veneer of hypocrisy, we'll then be able to confront the West in the manner that we should. And once we are liberated of those illusions, then we will be able to confront the situation. They are now finding it very difficult to support their project, because there is a sense in which the war in Ukraine is a proxy war. And that is why every attempt at midwifing a peace process is being torpedoed by the European powers. You never know, and you can never say never. The European powers are very interesting. If you look at history, they can lift you. And if your sell-by date in their view has passed, they begin to undermine you. They begin to reveal information that they knew existed all along. So it's a question of timing. Remember that the legitimacy of the Zelensky administration has been called into question because an election was not held during the due date. Perhaps they are now beginning to hold the view that Zelensky has run his course and it is the time for Zelensky to leave. And you can see the timing is very significant, that the Americans appear to be moving very close towards resolution of this conflict in some way. And Zelensky on his part appears to be responding to the entreaties of the Trump administration. But the appetite for the continuation of the war in Europe is high. For that reason, perhaps they are looking for somebody who will not do tango with the Trump administration and therefore, by extension, the Putin administration in Moscow. You never know. But remember, in saying this, I'm swimming in the sea of speculation. I'm sure that even within Ukraine, they are wondering who is pulling the strings. There are so many people, in my view, pulling strings. That is why you see Zelensky yo-yoing from one country to the other. At one time, he's with Macron. At one time, he's with the German Chancellor. At one time, he is with the British Prime Minister. At one time, he is with Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels. At one time, he is with the Danes. At one time, with the Norwegians. At one time, he's also with the Americans. So there is a sense in which when you talk about who is pulling the strings, it is legitimately in the plural, because there are many strings and there are many people pulling the strings. And I want to imagine that sometimes even Zelensky does not know who is pulling the strings and in what direction. Two things. I think that there is war fatigue in Ukraine. I think that the legitimacy of the Zelensky administration is also at its lowest. And with these internal pressures and internal contradictions, he is beginning to realize that you cannot fight in too many fronts. You cannot be fighting in the domestic arena where your closest associates are leaving office and exposing you, and also fighting externally, fighting Russia and fighting many interests. And I think that that is why he has great appetite now to broker some kind of deal. It may not be a deal that resolves the problem at once, but you can start with détente. You can have an armistice, you can have a rapprochement, and have a period within which you stabilize so that you deal with the things that will lead to the stoppage of war and deal with the long-term issues. And once you do that, you will then be able or be in a position to go back into the domestic arena and reorganize your administration, reorganize it to deal with the question of reconstruction, to deal with the question of punishment of the perpetrators of corruption, at least punish a few of them, and then think of an election which will give the administration legitimacy. And I think those are the kind of things that the Trump administration will be confronting his delegation, which is headed or is already in Washington, that this is the reality. And this reality tells us only one story. Your own administration is in trouble. There may be internal rebellion. So deal with this situation in a manner of speaking, paddle the water while it is knee deep. Because if you don't, it will be neck deep and you will not be able to paddle it. But I'm quite certain that they will issue some pro forma statement, if only to tell the world we are concerned. But they are now beginning to realize, if they did not know already, that indeed they were running and supporting a scheme that was from day one characterized by corruption and underhand deals, and that the war actually facilitates it. Remember, you are buying weaponry. Remember, you are buying provisions. You remember that war in itself is an industry, and they only look the other way when the accusations or when the fingers are pointing in the direction that they want them to point. But now, the chicken, in a manner of speaking, have come home to roost.